Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to another session of Habitat Office Hours. I'm your host, Kaya Tolliver. I am joined here by the Habitat team. We got Raul, we've got Trevor, and we've got new to us, a special guest, George Westwater. George Westwater is the Director of Engineering for the HAB team, and he recently joined us from AWS. And George, why don't you tell folks a little bit about yourself?
Sure, Kai, I appreciate that.
Mhm.
As Kai mentioned, I've recently joined Chef here back in December, and I'm a new director of engineering, recently come over from AWS. While I was at AWS, my role was predominantly to help large-scale enterprise organizations adopt a DevSecOps practices and really mature the organization with a specialty in Kubernetes and containerization. So, from the standpoint of not only from a security perspective, how to move and mobilize those things, but how to break down and modernize legacy applications, convert them to microservices, and do that in a containerized Kubernetes approach. Super excited to be here working on the Habitat team. Really look forward to exploring how app development is helping everybody, in the community and greater at large. So that's it for me from an intro. I appreciate it. Back to you, Kai.
Awesome. We're happy to have you here. Welcome to the team. Cool. So before we get into what our office hours is going to, what our topics are going to touch on, let's go through some pre-flight checks as we generally do on our show. If you're not following us on Twitter, you should be. You'll On our Twitter, you'll find more about our live streams as they happen, webinars, and latest plant outages. Also, community Slack. You are a practitioner, or if you're new to Chef, um, definitely join our community Slack, and we will welcome you into our community. Our engineers and also our DevRel folks, and as well as our architects, are all on community Slack, and there's a bunch of knowledge, wealth of knowledge. I can't with words today, excuse me. But a wealth of knowledge on community Slack. And generally, you'll be able to get your questions answered in real time, depending on, of course, where you are located in the world. And Discourse is also at your disposal. It's a forum style stack over communication, but you will also be able to get your questions answered there. We also put notes about releases and just all types of general questions about Chef and our products on Discourse. So absolutely tune in there. So let's get into our content for today. Can we kick things off with, hold on, got our agenda pulled up. Upcoming Docker subscription changes. Let's touch on that. Raul, would you like to kind of take us down that road?
Definitely. Thank you, Kia. So basically, Docker has come up with an update on product subscription model for Desktop, right? And there's some information around that on the web. I'm sorry, I think I'm getting quite a bit of a echo. One second, let me go about fixing my
Uh-oh.
settings.
Technical difficulties.
Wouldn't be a stream without them.
Of course, right?
While
Okay, let
Raul's
me try.
oh, go ahead.
Okay, I think I have turned off the settings, but it is still happening for me. Go ahead, George.
No, Trevor, did you want to add something?
Sure. The long and the short of it is Docker's making some changes to the way that their desktop software is licensed.
Mhm.
If you are using the Habitat Builder on Windows or Mac, you are likely using Docker Desktop to build isolated Habitat Studios to test your software. So if you are a customer who is going to engage with Docker and subscribe to their Docker Desktop product, then you will experience no changes. If you are currently using Docker Desktop and you are not going to be paying for it, then you'll need to make some changes to the way that you use your studio. You will not be able to do the isolated environment in Windows, and you'll need to use a VM to do some development on Mac. We put some posts on Discourse to kind of outline what this looks like for everybody. And we're exploring some other options on how we can potentially support isolated environments in the future with other tools. But for now, if you're paying for Docker Desktop, you're good to go. If not, there's some other options around for how you can continue to do your development work today.
Awesome. So I posted a link to the Discourse article on that in the chat. Let me make sure that I can do that for LinkedIn as well, because LinkedIn is not integrated the same with our chat. So let me go on ahead and do that. Oh, and we did get a comment from LinkedIn. Nazir says hi. Hi, Nazir. Yep. So we should have that link out to the folks. If you want to go and check that out and get more information, please do that. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And also, if you are a part of our community Slack, which you should be, you can also throw questions in the chat as well. And I am monitoring both LinkedIn and the Twitch and YouTube chats as well. Let's talk about new features. We're happy about new features. Who wants to take that topic?
All right, Raul, do you want to show off some of the new stuff in Builder?
Absolutely.
Cool. I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Thank you, Kia. So we have been working on this great new feature where we have come up with. Sorry, 1 second.
I wonder if it's your headphones. Oop, yeah, you got him. Poor Trevor, because I know
Kaya,
he just
Kaya,
heard.
is there a way to zoom in on that just a little bit?
Yes, yes,
Perfect.
absolutely.
So one of the things that you'll notice on the screen once we start zooming in down below is that right below the checksum, you now have the size of the heart file. So you can now understand and see how big that package is and managed inside here. So when you're thinking about trying to understand what the end result is going to be in some other areas, we're trying to make that a little bit more visible, a little bit more understandable to the end users. If there's any additional information that you would love to see on this page or that you think is important to you, please let us know in the community channels. We really are looking to have some open feedback and dialogues around how we can improve the user experience and continue to provide the right amount of information to the right audience in this area. So that's one of the one of the feature changes. Trevor, do you want to take the other one?
Sure. So we scroll up a little bit, Kaya.
Sure.
So you see, if we were to look at, so this is currently in our acceptance environment internally. So this is not live yet, but we'll be publishing this soon. You'll see here we've got a little bit of a different way of looking at the channel information that we used to display in line with the package manifest. Now you can get a view on all of the channels that are associated to a given package version and when they were promoted to that channel. And if you have the appropriate rights to manage that package, you'll get the options to demote that package if you can. And you'll be able to see that live on a given packages page, which is making it a little bit easier for everybody to see when changes might have happened to a given package and understanding how and when things got to a given channel to help a little bit of diagnostics if needed.
That's great. We love new features. So if you have any questions about these new features in Builder, feel free, as I said, to throw questions in the chat. We'd be happy to answer them. I do see we have a few new viewers on YouTube. Thanks for joining. We are going over our new features in Chef Habitat and the Builder. And we also recently introduced our newest director of engineering for Habitat, George Westwater. And we are moving on to our next topic and the series today, and that is going to be
And
there was a feature
Yeah,
development.
we've got some. We've been getting some requests for some more enhancements to the way that you can observe the health of services running in a given habitat supervisor or collections of services. This is actually one of the first topics we've been able to engage on with George, um, which has been really fantastic. George, you want to talk a little bit about some of the problems we were hearing from some customers and how we're thinking about going about solving them?
Sure, I'd love to. So when we think about deploying habitat in your landscape, we think about today the fact that init functions or run functions, the hooks that you see that are running in some environments generate a certain number of failures or other areas while we're waiting for services to turn on. And that telemetry that you see today isn't quite as visible as we'd want on a large enterprise scale. So what we're looking to do is to start taking the individual pieces of telemetry that come out of Habitat, or that the supervisor, the launcher, and the Habitat suite itself can generate, and roll those up into larger scale enterprise views. So when you think about that, is give me the health of my entire fleet. Let me see everywhere that Habitat is deployed. What is the average start time for operations? How long have they been running? But also, we know that some amount of failure restart times is normal. So as you're starting to think about elasticity and scaling out and scaling back in, so how do we start to think about broadcasting to you what's an early warning sign for maybe a degradation in state? Someone created and deployed some new code that has a bad run hook or a bad init hook that's causing some issues. So how can we give you some early warning telemetry that is configurable enough to give you the right alerts at the right time without giving you too many false positives? So in general, think about this a little bit like the sort of application insights, health monitoring, and generalized component health for your entire fleet, your entire habitat fleet that's deployed. This is where we're thinking today, and that's the primary problem. But we know that telemetry, metrics, and visibility into your applications is significantly deeper than this. So I'd love to turn it back to Trevor just to talk about how we can get some of your feedback in here and how we can incorporate some of your ideas into this new package of features that we're planning.
Yeah, so what George is talking about here, we're looking at how we can take some more of the generic characteristics of given services running in your supervisors and kind of roll those up into that application dashboard in Automates, that you've got better insight into the health of your fleet on top of the health check services you may be running as part of your package's life cycle. So this is going to give you a little bit more of a generic view of what all of those services that you're running are doing. Now, this is early days of development, so we are looking for your feedback. So this sounds like something that is potentially of use to you and your organization. We'd love to hear from you. So if you want to reach out to us on the community Slack, or if you have a customer success team and you want to engage with them and have them set up a meeting with George, Raul, and I, we'd love to kind of talk through some of ideas, hear about the challenges you're facing with monitoring your application delivery packages running in Habitat today, and really make sure this feature is something that everybody gets a ton of value out of, because we're seeing a huge opportunity here for folks to have a smoother experience with their services, with a little bit more insight into what they're doing.
Don't be afraid to come to us in this space with big ideas, right? So if you've got some big ideas and components that are there, just know that as we talk through that, we want to make sure that we create the right size deployments and releases to you so we can have incremental value towards those big visions. So come with the big ideas, be prepared for a conversation is how can we realize value for that to you shorter? How can we meet your immediate needs in other areas while still looking towards that long-term view of the way you'd see Habitat and this stored of telemetry working with the rest of your ecosystem?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Feedback is the name of the game. So whatever feedback we get from the community, or the more feedback we get from the community, the better, right?
And now's the time. We've got George coming on board. We've got Rahul came on board last year. We're looking for your ideas about what you want to see in app delivery and how you want to see app delivery evolve. You've got some fresh minds on the team. Let's have these conversations and talk about what you'd really love to see happen in this space as we go forward. We've got our ideas and we want to march forward with them, but it's important for us to hear what you're thinking as well.
Absolutely. Like that's really a good segue point. Let's talk about those new team changes. I think like there's been a lot of growth happening. Every time we have or for the past few community meetings, I'll at least say, the Habitat update has involved onboarding new team members. So let's talk about that.
All right, Rahul, is your audio back working, or would you like me to take this one?
I think George, you can take it up.
Okay, sounds good. So what we've recently done is we've expanded the Habitat team. So if you think about it, the way that we're structured internally is we have sort of two primary feature teams. We have one team that's focused on increasing and improving the core functionality of Habitat, how to add those features such as the telemetry, changes to the builder like we saw earlier today. That team has recently doubled in size. So as of January, we've doubled that team size, and we're working on onboarding and making sure that everybody's up to speed so that we can start delivering more value to you as customers, and hopefully see the feature release cycles and some things like that start to improve as we grow that team. We also have a dedicated team that's working on package refreshes and other areas to make sure that we're staying up to date on that. And we're investing a lot of time and energy and human capital on automating that process so we can significantly shrink the amount of time it takes for us to do refreshes and core refreshes and updates. So in the world of Habitat, we're growing pretty substantially internally, and we're looking to get some of your feedback to start filling up that pipeline for future work. So once we're ready to start consuming and producing new features at a rapid pace, we've got a good degree of feedback and a good set of pipelines from you, the community.
That's really great news to hear. I mean, look, my question is, where'd you find Rust developers?
Well, that is part of the reason why it's taken so long to double the team, right? So it's from that standpoint, when we think about hiring and adding to such a core competency like Habitat, where it affects customers' runtime and production areas, the standards that we're looking for people, quality, and talent is pretty high. So it's been a little while for us as we've been going through that process. We would rather pass on 10 candidates versus but have the chance to hire one wrong one. So we're really hoping that where we are from the team's perspective now is going to set us up to really increase the velocity, increase the quality and frequency by which we're able to support the community.
Yeah, that's great news. That's really great news. So we should be hearing a lot more from a release perspective. At least is that what the implications are? Should we?
Potentially. So think about this. Habitat is a large ecosystem. These people have just started. So what we want to make sure is that quality is the most important thing when we think about releases. It's not necessarily how fast we can get it out. Bugs that make their way to production have an impact not only on our team's productivity, but but our customers' landscape, and there's implications of that. So we're going to see a slow ramp while we get the team up to speed. We work on some additional automation in other areas before we start seeing some incremental increases in velocity. What we really want to make sure is we stabilize where we are, the team is producing high quality work, and we're able to work cohesively before we work on going faster.
Right. That's a good approach. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for those updates. Let's see if we have any questions here. Again, I know we have a couple of new folks tuning in on LinkedIn. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have of the Habitat team. Also, I know that a lot of folks end up watching the playback of our lives on YouTube. So feel free to throw comments in the YouTube comment section, or throw your questions in the YouTube comment section. And I will do the due diligence of going back and getting these questions to the team. And also, feel free to hit us up on on community Slack at any time, especially the Chef Habitat channel. That's where all of the habitat stuff goes down. But you can DM, as well. Does anybody else
So
have anything to call out before?
I'd like to plug the Habitat channel just one more time. I know that we've got a rich, deep set of knowledge out there, some wonderful,
Sure.
interesting use cases, and I'd love to hear more about it. I mean, I'm new to the team. I want to hear as much as I can from your experiences. So if you can drop in, tell me a little about yourself in the channel, send me a message or whatever we can from that perspective to start a dialogue. It doesn't have to be as formal as we were talking about before. We don't have to meet with your customer success managers in a big group. If you want to just start, providing some feedback, please do. Feedback is a gift, and the more that you can give, the more I appreciate it. So thank you very much for in advance, and hopefully we can continue to interact both through these channels and through our community channels as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, I think we can call this another successful episode of Habitat Office Hours, unless anyone else has anything to add.
Just thank you, Kaya. Thank you for hosting us.
Yes, thank you so much, all of you, for joining and for disseminating this information to the community because it sure is helpful.
All right. Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
All
Take care.
right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.